Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So we had a good response from the video that we did with EVA going over our 5 best tips for playing a new Mercy. So in today's video, I wanted to take the big elephant in the Overwatch room, which is Roadhog. Now Roadhog has had a pretty tough time recently. He's been reworked and essentially nerfed into the ground with what he used to be able to do before. Now he's in a pretty decent spot and he's starting to find popularity again. I for one much like playing the new Roadhog, but I imagine like a lot of people, I'm not necessarily sure if I'm playing him as effectively as I could be. So in this video, I teamed up with DrRiku, who is a top 500 Roadhog player who streams a hell of a lot of playing Roadhog, and when it comes to playing him in a competitive ladder, there's nobody better to talk to.
What's up, dudes? I'm Riku, and I'm really happy to be here today.
So Riku, the first thing I really want to go over is that people prefer the old hog and don't like the new hog, mostly surrounding the damage that you can do per shot and because of the hook combo. Being able to hook and instantly kill a lot of squishies was what made Roadhog feel so rewarding to play. But I guess one of the main things that you wanted to go over especially was that you could still do a lot of damage and even one-shot a lot of the people that you could before with the new hog.
Oh yeah, man. I remember the first week when Roadhog got nerfed, I was really upset. And I was baby rage was why did they do this to my hog? Why? And it didn't make any sense to me at the time. But now that I've taken enough time to adapt to it, you can still reliably one-shot a lot of characters. You could still, in terms of how you would do it before, comparatively, you would hook and shoot. You could still kind of do that with McCree and Zenyatta, but it requires a little bit more effort. The big thing even with Old Hog that people don't realize is that after you hook, you have to, walk forward a little bit in order to reduce the chances of the spread not, missing them because the hitboxes are narrow in some characters. But now it's gotten a lot more complicated in terms of consistently killing people. So now what you need to do is either you need to primary or secondary, depending on if you're already in their face or you're playing from mid-range. Then as soon as the shot hits, follow up with a hook, then walk forward, and then primary fire, and then melee. The thing to keep in mind in this whole process is that you need to make sure that as soon as the shot hits, you need to follow up with the hook as quickly as possible. The other thing is that the walking forward part, I know that part sounds a little weird to people, but why this is so important is, again, it makes it so that it reduces the chances of your spread being unlucky and then missing them completely. And then the final part is making sure that you go for the head. There are zero excuses as to why you're hooking someone that you're not shooting and going for their head. And this makes it so that you're outputting the maximum amount of damage and in order to kill somebody. And this is probably the most important part of Roadhog in order to learn him. This is the core identity, and making sure that you're able to consistently do this with every hook that you get is going to make sure that you're going to win a lot of games. So yeah, that's the most important part. You have to learn that.
Now the one thing that didn't change with Roadhog's kit was his hook. The cooldown was raised well before these changes to Roadhog went in, but it was always an ability that players used liberally to potentially get a pick. If you missed it, it wasn't a biggie, it would come off cooldown fairly soon. Even though the ability hasn't changed itself, do you feel that the way you use your hook has changed?
I think the thing to keep in mind now, more than ever, is now that it's on an 8-second cooldown, you can't really throw them out as much as you want in order to maybe get a kill. You want to make sure that when you're hooking someone, it's on an important target. It's something you're going to actually kill. And you want to make sure that you also have your hook up for really big, important ultimates like Fair Barrage or, Deadeye, or not even that, Defense Matrix, or when Reinhardt has his shield up so you can hook him so your team can do stuff. But at the same time, you shouldn't be so scared to throw a hook to where you're not landing as many. I think it's much better to have a 50% hook accuracy with 20 hooks throughout a game than it is to have 3 hooks and 100% hook accuracy, So my advice would be to try to throw as many as you can. Go for the ones that you feel isn't going to break out of line of sight. For example, if you see running towards a corner, they're playing around a corner, or they're on high ground and they're trying to jump off so that they can break the line of sight on you. Don't go for that. And, and try to save your hook for big key ultimates.
I remember when the Take a Breather whilst moving change came out, and I remember saying how nice it felt. It's probably one of the nicest changes I've seen in Overwatch to date. I love how fluid it feels, but much like a lot of people, I still worry about Roadhog being an ult battery, especially when using this ability. So how can people effectively use his heal and not get caught out in situations where you're essentially just feeding the enemy team ult charge?
Oh yeah, and I was very skeptical before when they announced it for PTR a little while ago. I was like, man, this isn't going to do anything. This isn't going to help him a lot. And to be honest with you, I was really pleasantly surprised that this has made him a lot more viable and a really strong pick. The things to keep in mind right now is that now he takes 50% reduction in damage for its duration, and he can move while doing it. This means that there's a lot more things you can do with it, even things that you couldn't even do beforehand. Like, I can be way more aggressive now towards characters that have no way of dealing with me. Like, the only heroes that you should be really looking out for when using this ability is heroes that can CC, and obviously anti-heal, which the only hero that can do that right now is Ana. Ana's probably the biggest threat right now to you. Mei, McCree, even Zenyatta. Even though Zenyatta doesn't CC you, he'd still, like, you know, discord you, and you just take a lot more damage. But at the same time, you shouldn't be just, like, running into the enemy team 1v5 and thinking you're gonna die. You're just gonna feed a lot of ult, and after the duration's over, you're going to die. The way it works right now is that you get 300 health from using it, right? So, and if you get the full heal off for the 300, you get 50% ult charge. That's a big number to give to your ult. So managing it so that you can tank a lot of things, like you can even tank, like, you know, I've tanked Deadeyes, I've tanked, you know, Death Blossom. I would recommend that try to using it as to get in a position that you can be really aggressive. But of course, don't feed if you think that running in 1v5 is a good idea. Just don't do that. That's not smart. Just don't do that.
Now, when it comes to using Roadhog's ultimate, I, for one, aren't the best with using it. When I go up against an enemy Roadhog, however, they tend to have really clutch plays with it, either knocking people away from the point, being able to kill a lot of people with it. I think it's much like Winston's ultimate, where people underestimate how good and useful it can actually be. So I just wondered if it's an ability that you feel people are using wrong, and how do you actually use your whole hog ultimate?
Oh yeah, and even today, which I find ridiculous, is I still hear people say that it's like the worst ultimate in the game, and that couldn't be further from the truth. With Full Hog, it's a lot more complicated. You could do so many different things in terms of its utility, but it's all based on your positioning, the map, and their positioning. Knowing when to use it and where to use it is probably the most important part. If they're primal raging with Winston, you can knock him back from getting into your team, or if they have Genji's dragon blading into your team, you can just knock him away too. If it's an overtime on either offense or defense, you can just knock, you know, the opposing team away from the point so that you can capture the point or push more, get more, you know, cart time. Or the big important thing even now is that I think that people don't even think about really is getting environmental kills now means more than ever is really important, because now that we're in a very, you know, dominant Mercy meta, knocking people off the map means that Mercy can't res that person. So, you know, being able to do that is a pretty important thing. So yeah, I think Whole Hog is pretty underestimated as an ultimate, and used correctly, it can be really devastating for the enemy team.
And finally, a lot of people have seen how the new Hog has been played. Even the pros have picked him up now and again. What final tip would you give, knowing Roadhog's role, going over all of the abilities that we've gone through so far, and how to utilize him as a hero in ranked?
The final tip I can give is that Flank Hog is not dead. Now, before I go into this, I think the going back to the first step I was talking about, the most important thing is learning the hook combo. If you can do that efficiently, you can actually make Flank Hog work still. The things to keep in mind, though, is that this isn't going to work on every map. This isn't going to work into every comp. If they're running more dive-oriented heroes, you want to play with your team so that you can peel for your supports and DPS to be able to win the game. If they're running more of a CC comp that's going to screw you over, like Ana, you know, or not even that, like heroes that can stop you from getting kills like Zarya, Diva, you might want to not do that. You might not want to flank, but the whole flank playstyle is still a very powerful thing that can be played. I still do it all the time. And yeah, just knowing when and where to use it, it can be extremely effective, because if you're flanking with Hog, that causes a paranoia thing where they're like, oh my god, we gotta chase the Hog. And because he's so hard to kill, that means you're taking people away from the choke. That gives your team an opening chance to come in and roll the fight.
Cool, and finally, just any closing thoughts that you may have on the hero, or anything in Overwatch, basically, and also where can people find you for your Roadhog streams, and also anime music?
Oh yeah, I think before I go, I want to make sure that you need to learn, all of you Hog players or people that want to learn Hog, the combo, learn that. That's like the most important thing, and use your E aggressively. Don't be scared, but don't feed, obviously, yeah, your ult is really good. Just know when to use it. Before I go, if you want to know when I stream or when I go live, you can follow me at twitch.tv/DrRiku for streams. I stream pretty much every day. Overwatch like 80% of the time. You can follow me on twitter.com/DrRikuTV for updates and any gaming content on YouTube. You can follow me at youtube.com/UndeadRiku. So yeah, thank you guys for listening in, and thank you the guys at Overwatch Central for letting this be a thing. Goodbye. I love you.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. I do definitely recommend you to check out DrRiku. He streams a lot. His streams are always really chill. He's a relaxed guy, quite positive, doesn't really get tilted, and he has some pretty good music on in the back, including some tracks from Kingdom Hearts, so if you're into that game, you'll love it as well. Let us know what heroes you would like us to go over and who with for future top 5 videos like this, and until next time, take care, and we'll see you then.